Hey, so in the last few months, since April, obviously I've made a bunch of videos here already talking about the inner belief exploration that I did with ChatGPT, mostly during May. That was a big month for it, and April. And it's been about a month now since I've been doing, that was like an all-day thing for me for 2 months. It was crazy. I wondered if it would ever end. I was just like, I'm going to spend the rest of my life running to ChatGPT every 5 minutes to have it analyze the connection between whatever we were just talking about, whatever memory just popped up for me or whatever. I wondered if it would ever end, but it was just unearthing and rearranging so many ideas and beliefs that I had that I could not stop because the benefit was immediate and significant, and it was just such a relief to let go of a bunch of remaining huge things that I had mentally that was governing the way I was experiencing the world and the way I was behaving, and the interplay between those two things. And now it's been about a month now since that kind of died down, and so I'm looking back on this experience, and there was so much of it that obviously I can't remember every detail of everything. It's all there in black and white. And much of it will be going into the book that I'm writing about how to do this, which I hope I'm going to have time to finish soon and then start getting ready to actually publish. But I can't remember most of it. And so I'm just sort of left with what was the big takeaway. And the big takeaway for me, the thing that I knew was happening already, but didn't have the tools to understand why it needed to stop and why it wasn't necessary and where it came from and, why it was wrong and how it was negatively impacting everything, was this sense of obligation to everyone and everything that I felt thanks to some childhood programming. And I mean, it permeated everything. Like everyone else essentially came before I did to me. In so many ways. So, if it was a matter of I put myself out to make this person comfortable or to help this person avoid pain, if it was a choice between that and what I authentically want to do or putting myself first, I nearly always chose the other person. And often it was not something that was consciously picked apart at the time. It was just a sort of like a directive that was programmed in. That was the big thing that GPT illuminated for me, that was like permeating everything. It's like living a different life. I don't know if it's as easy for everyone else to change when they see the problem as it is for me in that way. Once I knew that that was something that had sort of been programmed from a childhood experience, knowing what the childhood experience was, instantly I was like, oh, that's bullshit. Like the fact that that was programmed into me was programmed by somebody who I don't respect in that way. And so obviously anything that was programmed by that person, I want gone. And I'm just going to be brave and stop acting the way I've been acting. I'm just going to be brave and start doing things differently in all of these scenarios where I see that I am acting out of a strange programmed sense of obligation. I'm simply going to risk all of my relationships. I'm going to risk the success of my business. I'm going to risk everything and just start behaving the way I actually want to. That was not that difficult for me, but I don't know. I've developed courage over the years. This like anything else, I think you're born with some measure of natural inclination, and beyond that, it's just sort of like exercising a muscle. It's just sort of making a choice, and when you're faced with a moment where you need to be courageous or not, you just choose the courageous route and endure whatever comes from it, and then do it again and do it again until you're sort of desensitized from, whatever, than being nervous about doing that or scared of doing that. But so I don't know if it's as easy for everyone to see the source of something, see the impact that it's had, see the behaviors associated with that, and then when faced with a choice to continue to behave that way, to stop it. That is what needs to happen. I don't know if it's as easy for everyone as it was for me, but at this point in my life, this was not hard. I mean, it wasn't, I'm not saying it wasn't painful, but it wasn't difficult. It was just like, I was just like, continuing to make the old choice isn't really an option anymore because, this is the remaining set of ideas and behaviors that is really negatively impacting my life, or at least it's the next big one that I can see that's got to go before I can figure out what else is there. So, the big takeaway from all of that, the big takeaway from that experience was revealing this sense of obligation, and that sense of obligation was not something that should be part of my life. That was the big one, I knew it was there, but I thought it was just a part of being me or a part of life, part of being a good person, part of being whoever it is I see myself as. And I realized, no, that's not the case. So all of these behaviors had to change. And what was sort of hand in hand with that, or like the insight that I got from that, and what I wanted to make a video to talk about, is how much I realized what percentage of my behavior was essentially a performance. It wasn't authentic. It was what I thought it needed to be, which, produced a lot of unhappiness. And it's funny because I never thought of myself as somebody who was performing. In my mind, what that meant was trying to be something that you're not, or pretending to be something that you're not, which is exactly what I was doing from that sense of obligation. But I didn't see that. I just saw that as I have to do this. This is a sort of almost like a task I have to do, this behavior in this situation. And that is the definition essentially of performing. But I just thought of it as, putting on a front, being a poser. I'm like, I'm not that. I don't pretend to like things I don't like most of the time. But, in the day-to-day, there was so much inauthentic acceptance of people, inauthentic acceptance of other people's behavior, inauthentic effort put into things for other people that wasn't coming from an actual place of kindness or concern or, wanting the best for people. I mean, there was a drop of that and everything because that's just part of who I am as a human. But I mean, there was so much that was just not authentic. And authenticity has always been something that I felt was a big thing for me. Don't try to be something that you're not. Don't try to look a way that you think other people should want you to look, for the most part. I mean, a big part of my life has been trying to be a certain size, and that was definitely something that was programmed. Another thing that is in a way performative, although I think I do authentically feel the most myself at a certain weight. So that's muddy, but I never was I didn't ever try to be trendy or anything like that. Anything that was just like following the crowd always offended me. I never wanted to just be like everybody else, and anything anyone else was doing, I wanted to try to do something differently. That didn't appeal to me. So it was really hidden from me, the way that so much of my life was a performance, because I didn't think of myself that way. And so I'm making this video to hopefully awaken somebody to this, because it's such a difference when you stop this, when you start behaving authentically, when you start, choosing your battles, but not just constantly making other people comfortable all the time by agreeing with them or, pretending not to be offended if somebody says something that's really offensive. You don't have to call somebody out or get in a big argument or something, but you also don't have to smile and nod, and you don't have to laugh, or you don't, I can't believe the amount of close people to me. I can't believe the amount of their behavior that I pretended to approve of, or that I tried to conceal my true feelings about, you know, it's just, there was so much of this out of this sense of obligation. And there was this whole dimension of sort of like stress and tension that I carried with me all the time because of this. It's interesting because I wear a Fitbit and it tracks your heart rate variability, which is, I don't know, you'll have to Google it. The bottom line is it's an indicator of that type of thing. Like how healthy are you? How healthy is your system? Things like that. It's gone up. It's doubled in the last few months. That thing has it rose like a ton almost immediately, like within a week. I was just like, what is this? I showed my chart to GPT back then, and it was like, see, this is evidence that your nervous system is calming down. And it's just amazing the effect that carrying around sort of global beliefs, like things that affect everything, these universal, just sort of like an overall obligation with your behavior that affects everything. Like, that is impactful when you remove something like that. You can feel it and you can see the results of getting rid of it really quickly. And if you wear some sort of a monitor, you'll see my heart rate's also gone down. My resting heart rate's gone down. It's pretty crazy how these beliefs, especially since I wasn't comfortable with, they produced a negative life experience for me that I felt I just had to endure to be a good person. It's just amazing how that comes out and affects all your behavior. And as we all know, if we have been in the manifestation community for any period of time, at least if you're on my channel watching my content, you know that your beliefs affect your behavior, and your behavior affects everything. You're behaving all day. You're doing things all day, making choices, body language, decisions about where to go, who to talk to, how long to talk to them, what you're going to say. All of those things are happening 24/7, and they affect everything. And you create an entirely different life when you change that in any way, for the worse or for the better. So that was an insight that I did not expect to have. I saw the sense of obligation that I had, and I was like, wow, this is going to be a big relief. There are areas of my life that have been really unsatisfying that now are going to have a chance to actually be satisfying. Like, just as an aside, I can't believe this. Like, and I don't quite know what to attribute this to. I did spend I had a few little sessions where for like 10 minutes, I focused on a photoshopped image of my Vanguard brokerage account having a much larger quantity of money in it than it actually has, 10 times. And I just looked at it and sort of allowed myself to morph into that scene where that was true. I just sort of allowed my surroundings to be the same. I assumed, okay, this sum of money is going to be present in my current circumstances. This isn't some wildly different future. This is happening now. Nothing in my life has changed. This number is just much, much bigger. What does my life feel like? And I just sort of sat there and felt that. I just sort of felt that atmosphere surround me. I just sort of felt the thoughts change just for a few minutes. And if you've watched my channel, you saw I made a video right away. Like the next day, an old life insurance policy that was tied up in a dispute was resolved. I got like $13,000 from that. So that was like the next day. I got $13,000. I mean, I didn't get paid the next day, but that started to happen the next day. I was contacted the next day about that. But I also just sort of burned out at work in the midst of this, or before this, in the general same time frame. And I just started saying, I don't want to do the same things I've been doing. I don't want to be as involved with work here as I was. I especially don't want to be involved in the same way. Like, this is taking way too much of my mental energy. I have other things I want to think about. And it was like the universe responded to me immediately. business is up like, and this is since February. So February, March, April, May, we're almost to the end of June. It's been 5 months of this. Business has, I would say, nearly doubled. If this continues by the end of the year, it'll, you know, the revenue in my business will have been almost double from last year. And that's not an insignificant number. And not only that, but another weird thing that happened was I noticed, I can't remember why I checked this, but all of our advertising comes through a mailing list that has grown large over the years. So it's more than enough to, you know, be successful without ever advertising externally at all. But we also use Facebook ads, which bring in about 40% of our sales. And so I don't pay too much attention to organic, which mean, or organic search, like organic traffic, which means basically where do we rank on the Google returns for our keywords. We've always only ranked like 5th or 6th for all of the, you know, big keywords in our industry. And I've just never really worried about it, because unless you're number 1 or 2, like, you're really dropping off in how much traffic you get. And I was like, I'm not putting any effort into this. And we're at, you know, 5 or 6. Okay, we're getting some traffic from that. That's great. But for some reason, I checked our rankings, and all of a sudden we're number 1 for everything, which I don't know exactly if that's, you know, I need to do some investigating. I don't have anything set up to track this stuff so that I can just click a button and say, where are things coming from right now? But we're number 1 for all of these search terms, for like all of the big ones, all of them. I don't know how or why that happened exactly. I didn't do anything to cause that. I don't know if it's a Google algorithm change. You know, I don't know if it's a stroke of luck. We had a weird thing earlier this year where somebody made a video on YouTube about one of our products randomly, which, you know, sent us a whole bunch of traffic to a specific product that people wanted from this video. And so we sold like hundreds and hundreds of this one particular thing. And I don't know if that did it. I don't know what did it. I don't even know if I would be able to find out if I tried at this point. But like, that's another thing that's happened. And the only thing consciously that I've done was those couple of sessions just looking at that larger number photoshopped in my Vanguard brokerage account being photoshopped much higher. That's the only thing I specifically did in a manifesty kind of way. But the big thing I did was all of this work with GPT. And I don't think there's any way it could be unrelated. It's like it energetically shifted everything that I was doing. And the amount of time that I spend contorting myself for other people has decreased by like 90%. If you've watched my channel for a long time, then you probably saw the video that I made earlier this year. If you go back, it's the one that has the tombstone as the thumbnail, so it should be pretty easy to find. I had this crazy incident where I was avoiding this guy from the gym. I used to go walk every morning for like an hour at the gym, around the track of the gym, and nobody would talk to me. Thankfully, I was like, at 5 a.m, nobody's going to talk to me, because any other time of the day, and everybody's just there to socialize. But unfortunately, this guy started talking to me, and I could not bring myself to say to a perfectly friendly stranger, listen, I don't want to talk to you. I'm here to, you know, walk around the track. I don't want to talk to anybody. I feel like that is I still don't know if I could do that. I felt like that's unnecessarily hurtful. I'm not being friendly. Like, there's still something in there for me that I have not drawn out yet. I don't know exactly what that is. Like, I don't know if I could go to the gym and say this to that guy, but I'm pretty sure, and this is big, I'm pretty sure that at this point, if that happened again, I would not react the same way. First of all, this obligation to be this friendly woman, you know, it's like there were these ideas about what a woman is supposed to be, that were programmed into me in the same exact time that all the obligation shit was programmed into me. There was an idea about what a woman needs to be, and she needs to be very friendly. And Matt told me that his mom would always, every time she would talk about me, she would say, she's such a nice girl. I remember Matt telling me this and being like, well, because I don't think of myself that way, because like in the way she means it, that's not authentic to me. Like, I don't automatically approve of everything. I don't think everybody is just great exactly the way they are. Like, those ideas are not real, but yet I was taught to perform that they are. And I was taught to care more, or I was taught that I needed to come off a certain way in order to be okay. And like, it got to the point where I couldn't even tell a guy that I didn't want to talk to him. And that was a big deal for me earlier this year. I've gone to the gym like every day for, I don't know, a decade or something. And I stopped going because I was like, there is no time now where I can just go to the gym and be left alone. I can't tell this guy to leave me alone. He's too nice. He was, that's the other thing. Like, I had this idea that, oh, this guy's a nice guy. He just wants to talk. For all I know, that guy only wants to try to, get with me. I don't know what his motivations are. I don't know him. Why am I automatically assigning this idea that he's some nice guy that I don't want to hurt? I have no idea who he is. He hasn't proven himself, and he's not going to get the chance to. And I don't have to afford every person that chance. I don't have to do that. All of those ideas were programmed. It's so hard to even say this, because it's like, my idea of what a good person is and what, the right kind of woman is, these things are so ingrained after 30 years of this that, this all happened when I was like 15, in my mid-teens. Those ideas are so ingrained that as they sort of fall apart, it's like there's nothing to grab onto. It's like entering into this really scary mental space where maybe I'm going to be a bad person now. Like, maybe this is dangerous. I need to perform this persona in order to be safe. Like, letting that go, it's really scary. But, I stopped going to the gym. Like, I stopped doing something that was healthy for me that, apparently, it's a bigger deal than I thought. Also, I've been reading about walking lately, and it's really, if you walk a few miles in the morning, like, it changes your whole day physiologically. So I stopped doing this healthy thing for myself that was good for me mentally also, all because I couldn't, all because of the performance. And I thought about this guy. I kept wanting to go back to the gym, but I'm like, no, that guy's there. And then he randomly showed up in a place where I never am, at a time that I'm never anywhere. And I saw him just randomly in public. And that was kind of like the thing that started this whole thing. It's just bizarre. Since that day, all these things have unraveled. There was something about seeing him in that way where I realized I had created that moment somehow. I don't know how. I wish I did. Somehow I had put us together in the same place at the same time. This only person in the world that I was avoiding that sort of represented the maximum absurdity of the way I was living my life. And there was something about that made me realize that. I'm like, this person represents everything having gone too far. And then the whole thing started to unravel. But anyway, so all of that to say, all of that to just recount this whole thing and this huge thing that was revealed thanks to ChatGPT. I have no idea how I'd have gotten to it any other way. This absurd way of living that had infected me 30 years ago, just sort of reaching the apex. And I don't know, it's been a super crazy. And it's been 5 months, February, March, April, May, June. So much has changed in the last 5 months. It's crazy. So are you doing that? Are you living a performance? The more I observe people over the last few months, the more I realize how divorced from their own authentic reality the average person is, through no fault of their own, really. Most people are sleepwalking. But having just experienced this myself and having seen how much that was still a part of my personality, now obviously, since I'm aware of that, I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing it in other people. It's one of those things that is really revealing right now. This creates so much unhappiness. It creates so much false experience. When you're performing, the experience isn't real for you. It's not real for the person who's receiving the benefit of your performance. This whole world is an illusion. I hope this is on the verge of ending. It would be really cool to live through. I hope it would be really cool to live through watching the world transform. It takes a few people, it takes a movement to start, and then it becomes too big for everybody else not to follow suit. I hope that we're about to witness that. I think we have to be about to witness that. I don't think it's going to be possible to remain. I think it's going to go one of two directions for every person. It's either going to become more, you're going to become more divorced from reality, or you're going to become in touch with yourself and the true nature of things here in this realm. I don't think there's going to be able to be much of a middle ground, because you're going to be forced into one direction or the other, and hopefully you pick the one where you are free and not enslaved, figuratively and in some ways literally. That's it.